This week was our prayer and fasting week. I actually had a different approach to my fasting this time. It wasn't a meal or food type of fast. I decided to fast something personal, and it is between me and God. I just wanted to share that even before the beginning of our prayer and fasting, God had already answered a few of my prayer requests. These are my prayers from last year, but I felt God answered it right after the beginning of the year, and I find it very timely because it became a great year starter for me. I know that when it comes to praying and asking God, it is great that we have this childlike faith and not doubt that God will not answer our prayers. God is a prayer answering God. There will be times that our prayers are being answered in a different way or through small miracles that sometimes we can't even notice. We cannot deny the fact that God always wants the best for us, and we should not limit ourselves from it. Just because we cannot see God answering the exact or specific thing that we are praying for, it doesn't mean that God does not love us or God does not care. The truth is, God only wants the best for us. Our best may not necessarily mean His best. His ways will always be higher than our ways. His thinking will always be higher than ours. Right now, I just wanted to share 5 things we could pray for this year. As we begin another year and probably a new life season, I know there are already a number of questions or worries and even fears. Do you wonder with fear of the future or with confidence? Are you positively expectant or negative towards this year? Or maybe you're in between. You're feeling confused as to how to feel and welcome this year. The great news about all of this is that we don't have to worry anymore. God is the author of our lives. No matter how many things we plan for the year, only God's purposes will prevail. We can either be flexible with our plans or end up being disappointed. We can offer these plans to God and let Him direct the course. Let Him lead the path. We don't need to take control of every little detail anymore because God is in control. He knows everything, past, present, and future. God already laid out His plans for your life even before you were born. As it says in Jeremiah 1 verse 5, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations." It is the same for this year 2021. God already planned every little detail, and we only need to trust Him. The future is still uncertain. It may instill fear, it may continue to disturb our mental health, but the thing we can do at the moment is pray. God always hears our prayers and cries. He only waits for us to cry out to Him with all that we are carrying. Okay, so let me share with you the 5 prayer list or faith goals that I have for the year. Number 1, my prayer is that we deepen our relationship with God more this year and allow ourselves to accept and embrace His will for our lives. Number 2, I pray that God will reveal to us our idolatries and addictions by blessing us with a new set of spiritual eyes. Number 3, I pray that we choose less of ourselves and more of God, that we live selflessly and love like Christ. Number 4, I pray that we learn to number our days. And number 5, I pray that we put God first, above all things. Okay, so let me share with you piece per piece. First is that I pray we deepen our relationship with God more this year and allow ourselves to accept and embrace His will for our lives. We should make it a priority this year to deepen more our relationship with God. Last year was very difficult for all of us, and we only have survived it because of God's sovereignty. Everything was only possible because of His will and because of His control. What a better way to glorify Him and bring back all the praise if not for us to focus our relationship with Him. That means we spend more time talking to God and praying to Him, worshiping Him with our actions and with the way we live, and submitting our lives to Him and reading His Word every day. It is only that when we surround ourselves with God's presence that we become sensitive with hearing Him. While we constantly believe that His plans and will for us is for our good, the more we are at peace and less fearful of the unknown. I hope that this year we learn to entrust to God our prayers and secure our desires to His will. Second prayer is, I pray that God will reveal to us our idolatries and addictions by blessing us with a new set of spiritual eyes. The world is in a fast-paced speed, and our lives are very much exposed to a lot of worldly distractions. We cannot deny the fact that last year we spent 200% more on our social media and gadgets. I pray that this year we try to slow down and reflect on the things we should have done and prioritize, but instead used them as entertainment or distraction. I pray that this year we use this time to ask and pray to God to reveal to us the idols of our hearts. May it be a person, a hobby, our work, our possessions, money, and the list goes on. May we all pray for God's blessing of a new set of spiritual eyes or revival of our faith. Let us pray that God will remove them and replace them with greater love for Christ in its place. Number 3, I pray that we choose less of ourselves and more of God, that we live selflessly and love like Christ. I have chosen this mindset for almost 2 years already, and it is one thing that keeps me going. It pushes me past the understanding of why I needed to be less of myself and be more of God, and choose other people before myself. It's because it is the same kind of love Jesus displayed, and I also wanted the same thing to how I live my life. It should be one of our goals in life, of course, to become more Christ-like. Sometimes it is difficult, especially that I have been living selfishly all my life. But now, it has been my prime concern. It is not about thinking less of myself, but thinking of myself less. So I pray that for this year, we spend less time focused on ourselves and more time in loving God and loving others. We also need to pray that we would have a love like Jesus, the kind of love that seeks the best in others, the kind of love that chooses to be the last instead of first, the kind of love that serves and sacrifices. Number 4, I pray that we learn to number our days. Last year, we spent most of our days at home. We counted the days that we were on lockdown. We counted the hours spent on watching Netflix and time spent on sleeping. We noticed the very details of our home much more than we ever did. But I hope and pray that this year, 2021, we choose to number our days. Because of this, we learn to appreciate more the things that God has blessed us with. I pray that this year, we choose to number our days, spending it to glorify God and to share God's greatness and the good news. By noticing how time flies so fast, I pray that we take it by heart that life is significant and that we should not waste our time here on earth. May we focus our days and fulfill God's purpose for His glory and praise. And lastly, number 5, I pray that we put God first above all things. It is vital that we know and acknowledge who the Lord of our lives is. It is very significant because it is where we draw our life purpose and our strength. I pray that we always choose God first. May it be our time, our attention, our decisions, and our faith. I pray that this year, we have this desire to love God above all else. Let us develop this thirst towards God and His Word. Let us make it our goal this year to let God be present in every area of our lives. Let us pray and ask God to help us to look to Him before anything else. It is when we choose God first that everything will follow. It is when we make Him first in our lives.